the aim of this interview is going to be to help our viewers understand the current situation better. So that's what I've been doing with the other interviews. And this interview is going to be special because you are a research student and you're like the closest to the students currently. So it'll be easy for us to connect with the things that's happening around. And this season, I'm like more focused towards students studying abroad because there's a lot of research students aspiring to go abroad, and this pandemic has affected us in like a lot of ways. So I want to know how, what are the things you're noticing right now, and if there are any suggestions you would like to give to the students. So maybe you can start by introducing yourself, maybe what you're doing, where you are currently, and what your interests, whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. So my name is Nadi Dixit, and I was a student at IISER batch. I mean, I belong to batch 14 of IISER. So I graduated last year in June. So I was one of the lucky batches to get out of IISER before the whole pandemic thing started. Yeah. So right now I'm doing my PhD at the University of Kassel in Germany. And my project is mostly a bioinformatics one. It focuses on population genetics and systematics. I'm specifically working on a plant group, a genus of plant from Southeast Asia. So I am mostly dealing with the population genetics aspect of this particular plant group. So my project is mostly theoretical and computational. So yeah, I'm currently in my second year of my PhD. It's almost been a year. I started August last year. I started on August 12th, I think, last year. And yeah, I'm in my second year right now, and it's going quite well. So yeah.
That's amazing.
It was quite difficult for me, actually. It was really difficult because it was very unexpected. Because you know, when it started, I think sometime around February, late February or early March, we all expected it to go away. We thought, okay, it'll just be a few cases. I still remember telling my friend, yeah, there's just 25 cases in Germany, and then before I knew it, it had already gone up to 1,000 cases, and it was all really fast. And then the university shut down, and I was supposed to stay at home. So from a research point of view, I was not all that affected because, like I said, my work is mostly a theoretical and a computational project, right? So I could actually stay at home and work. I could access my computer from at home, from at home, and it was not really a problem. And during this particular part of my during this particular time, I was in that phase of my project where I was writing my project proposal. So you're supposed to write a project proposal like on what you're working on, what you will be working on, and submit it to the university. So I was working on this part. Because I was at this time I was also waiting for my DNA sequences to arrive from this company. I had sent my samples for sequencing, for next gen sequencing, and I was waiting for them. So this was actually supposed to be a waiting period for me, where I was supposed to do a lot of reading and writing and working on my proposal. So I had time to sit at home and coordinate with my professor from home and work on my proposal. So my research was not all that affected, right on schedule even now. So the plan that was there, like, you know, that during this particular part of the year, I will have finished this much. So I'm still on schedule with regard to my project. But I think personally it affected a lot in a very negative way. Because just before the pandemic started, I had to move, like I had to shift to an apartment of my own. So before I was living in the guest house from the university. So, but then there's a limited contract. So you just get to stay there for like 6 months or something like that. So they have something like that for international students where they can just, you know, move to a different country and stay in the guest house. And in the time they can find, you know, a new apartment of their own or whatever. So I was looking for my apartment at that time, like early this year. And I had to shift exactly during the time of the pandemic. And it was really scary for me because here, people tend to do things on their own, you know. So when they're shifting, they usually rent a moving car or a small van or something, and they drive around on their own. So these are things that I cannot do because obviously I'm new here and I don't have a license here. So I had to depend on other people. So thankfully I have good friends in my lab who were willing to help me. And I just, you know, moved in 2 or 3 days. Like, it was all very fast. But the problem was I did not have internet connection yet. So I was waiting for internet connection, and I did not have internet connection in my apartment, and that sucked big time because I did not have internet for about 2 weeks or something, and it was really bad. Because the only way I can connect to people back at home is via WhatsApp, like on video calls. So it was really difficult for me, from a like a personal point of view. Like my personal life is really affected, and I think it also increased my anxiety a lot, because reading the news every day with so many things happening, it's like a lot of uncertainty, and it was quite scary for me. And because I stayed at home for almost 2 months, I would say, it screwed up my routine completely. So I would wake up at 12 or 1 every day, and it's affected me. It affects me even now, because even now I run late to the university. I'm running late to the university because of this, because I still wake up late.
Huh. But yeah, like how did your institute handle the whole thing? Was it shut down, or like what were you asked to do? Because since you were staying in the guest house, I'm sure you must have had a common cafeteria, or and all of them was probably shut, or how was that? Like, how did the
Yeah.
institute take care of the whole situation?
Yeah. So, right, like I told you, right when the pandemic started, I had to move out of the guest house. So I was in, in an apartment of my own. I'm in an apartment of my own right now. So, like all other institutes, I think everywhere, the university shut down. So they just sent us in an email saying that we can all work from home. So work from home was like the phrase, like everybody's working from home.
The new normal.
Yeah, the new normal. Everybody's working from home. So in the beginning, people were not allowed to be in the university. At least for a month, this was a norm. Like nobody was allowed to come into the university. I don't know, maybe there were exceptions, but I'm not sure about that. But in general, people were not allowed. Started, asking for special permissions of sort, like, okay, if you have permission from your professor, you're allowed to get in. Before anybody could come into the university because of the library, they could access books in the library or whatever. So it was open to public. University is open to public, but they closed that. I mean, they stopped that. So only people who have some kind of an access key can enter the university, and you need to have permission for that. So I remember that after 1.5, I think almost 2 months, I attended a meeting here in the university where I asked my professor if I can, get permission to come here and work, because it was better for my mental health. 2 months without any contact, and all I knew was just talking to people on phone. Like there's no physical contact with any human being, and that's really, really tough. It's when you don't get to touch anybody, when you don't have physical contact, you feel this horrible loneliness. That's and it increases anxiety.
That's true.
Yeah, so I got the special permission, and I got this access key, and so I could start coming to the university. So in the beginning, only PhD students were allowed to come into the university, but there was this rule that people above a certain age, like above 60, and people with small children at home, so they were not allowed to come. Allowed as in they were mostly advised to stay at home, like work from home. So a lot of people in my working group are married, and they have small kids. So I remember that in the first month or so after I started coming back to university, it was just me and my colleague in my office, like sit together. It was just me and her, and there weren't a lot of students. So the university was definitely closed for bachelor's and master's students. They continue to do everything via Zoom or whatever. So the classes were all online. Mensa is the mess, like where you go and
okay.
eat. So it's not mensa here. So we
It's
used
a
to
German
eat.
word?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Mensa. Yeah, we call it mensa, mess.
Okay.
So I would have my lunch at the mensa every day. So the
So it was
mensa
open
closed.
all through the lockdown?
No, it was closed.
Oh, okay.
So during this period of time, we had to bring our own lunch, like we had to cook. So that was another headache, because you have to cook and then you have to bring it to the university and all that.
Painful, isn't it?
Yeah. So that happened for almost 2 months or 3 months, I would say. I don't know. And then the cafeteria opened. So there's a small cafeteria on the ground floor in this building, and that opened. And even they have strict rules right now that you can only wear masks, and and you have to fill in this form each time you enter this cafeteria saying that, yeah, I was here on this particular day at this particular time. and all that. So right now we just managed to eat our lunch at the cafeteria. So we take the food and then we come back here in the office and eat or something like that. But the mensa closed. So yeah, the mensa is still not open. So people are not allowed to eat in this big mess hall. And this is a little depressing because this was the time when people, interacted with each other. We had the chance to meet new people and all of that, because there's so many people there and you get to discuss. But now it's like everybody is just scattered all around, and you don't get to meet a lot of people. There are very few people, and obviously there are no bachelor's and master's students around. Very few of them, if they are doing their thesis, if they're working on their theses, they are allowed to come. Otherwise, it's all online. So yeah, so the Mensa also closed down, and yeah.
Word for the day, Mensa.
Mensa.
I'm gonna call Mensa. I mean, our cafeteria from Mensa from now.
Mensa. Fancy. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So yeah, I don't think it will open anytime soon, and they're going to start the winter semester early November, and the winter semester is.
That was my next question. So how is it for a new PhD now? Like, what are the chances of them getting admissions at these foreign institutes? Because specifically international students, because of this current pandemic, a lot of institutions are restricting their admissions, and a lot of them are aspiring to do their PhDs or like post graduations elsewhere, and now they're scared, one, because they have to travel to another place and then try to adjust there with all these things that's happening right now. And the other thing is from the institution where they're reducing the number of admissions or a couple of things. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure if institutions themselves are reducing the number of students. I'm not sure if that happened this year, because usually in Europe this is how it works. So usually they have professors or working groups, they have this project in mind, and they decide the money they require for it, like the amount they want, and they usually write up grants. So there are grants usually written, so money is usually there for a project. So maybe from next year onwards, or for the next couple of years, they're going to cut down on the amount of money that can be brought in through grants. I mean, because obviously the government will want to concentrate on other things, right? Like they want to concentrate on giving away money to other fields or places that require it more than universities. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but this year, I don't know, maybe because I think that grants are usually written a year or two before you start your PhD for a project. So that is how it is. So I think that the number of positions will be cut down maybe the next couple of years, which is quite bad, because it's also very competitive in India. A lot of people want to go out, and it's not good. So they'll be competing a lot more than
that's true.
What it's already there. So yeah,
that's true. Another thing I want to talk about is, we were just talking about how this whole situation is having an impact on our mental health. So PhD life is often very stressful, and in times like these, there are a lot of other consequences, like there is lack of resources, or specifically when you look at research in ecology or ecology, so you're restricted from traveling to certain areas, and a lot of things. So I want to know how what are the things you do to have this sort of stable, because you can't really work on a particular project keeping a lot of stress or like getting anxious at little things. So how do you manage the whole situation? Is there something you would like to tell people who are going through such things? I'm sure a lot of people, including me, are going through something similar to that thing. So
one good thing, one big change that happened over the past 1 year is that I moved to Germany. Here in German universities, I think it is like this elsewhere in Germany. A lot of importance is given to personal life. So if you go to your professor and say that you have a problem, that something big going on in my life, they'll actually recommend you to take time off. They'll say, okay, take your time, you don't have to come. So I really appreciated that. So first, when I started here, I kind of thought that this is some sort of a luxury that some people get.
That's true. Yeah, to some,
It's
yes.
because we're not used to this in India, In
Yeah.
general, in India, when you go and tell your prof, the usual answer would be, yeah, well, that's your problem. I want it by next Tuesday.
It's almost I don't care. It's almost I
I
don't
don't care.
care.
Yeah, I don't care. I've had experiences like that. So where people don't give a damn about your personal problems, they say, yeah, that's your problem. I'm just, bothered about your work, and I don't care about your personal life. So
And the
that's
worst thing, I'm really sorry to interrupt you. The worst thing is whenever you approach a person like a professor or whoever it is, approach them saying that, you're going through something like this, and they compare it with something else, they say, okay, do you think I'm not going through something? I mean, it's
yeah,
different, right? Everybody goes through
yeah,
something, obviously, but that doesn't put the thing what you're going through down, right? So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
different. But yeah, I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah. So here, it's unlike in India, where when you go to a prof and talk about suppose you have, say, mental health issues, and you say, I have problems and I cannot work. So the usual answers that I am used to getting in India is that this is going to affect your future, or if you don't work hard enough, if you end up in a good lab, they'll kick you out if you don't, give results in this, a certain amount of time. And what will you do if they kick you out, and things like that, which adds more pressure on you. But here, it took me a while to realize that people take time, and I kind of thought that it is some sort of a luxury, but it's the way of life here. Like, people take their time to do things, and they're not very hard on themselves, and they give themselves time. So if they're going through something, they take a break. So in India, say for example, in IISER, so if you enroll into a BSMS program, you're supposed to finish the whole thing in 5 years. So if you have some personal problem, like a very serious problem, fine, they probably will let you repeat like another year or something, so you can probably extend. I personally know somebody who stayed in IISER for 2 more years, like totally for a period of 7 years because of problems. So that's how it is, but it's very, very strict, right? You're supposed to finish in 5 years, but here it is not like that. When somebody starts their bachelor's or whatever, they can take whatever courses they want, and if they want, they can take a break. They can say, oh yeah, you know what, next semester I'm not going to university because I can't do it, I have problems at home or something like that, and they take a break. So they take their own time to finish their education, which is, I would say, very stress free and nice.
That's true. That's very encouraging to students, right? Like when everything is open. So I think the reason why in some institutions, to some extent, people don't let such things happen in India specifically is because there are chances. I'm not saying everybody would, but there are chances that people will take advantage of the whole thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah. So there are chances, but that doesn't mean you're not supposed to allow such a system here in India. It's going to be benefiting to a lot of people if such a system do occur. I
yeah,
mean, for that instance, there are a couple of professors in from IISER who I think really care a lot. I mean, literally following up on them, or like acting as a counselor to them during these tough
yeah,
times. That really makes me happy whenever I
yeah,
hear something like that. But I mean, you specified one point that it's just not in the university, but people in general back in Germany are like stress free, or they take off some time from. I think that's really interesting, and
it's a way of life here.
that's really good. Really
It's because there isn't a lot of competition, obviously, because of the population. Like,
interesting.
there aren't a lot of people to start with, and they just have this freedom to do whatever they want. So say in India, if somebody takes a break for a year or two, they would say, oh yeah, everybody else your age is running ahead of you, where are you, what are you doing in your life, da, da, da. That's the attitude in India. But here it's not really like that, because nobody cares. Like, nobody cares what you're doing in your life. And I have friends who are 27, 28 years old, and they are still doing their bachelor's.
I mean,
And
age doesn't matter.
and I'm the youngest one in my group. And it was um people were really surprised that I am doing a PhD at this age. They're like, why do you want to do a PhD at this age?
Why
It
don't you
is
want to
like,
enjoy your life?
yeah. There's somebody who actually asked me, don't you like your life? Why are you doing a PhD at such a young age? But
Oh,
they're not in India. This is what we're used to. This system
I
of not
know.
taking a break and going ahead because you think that, oh shit, if I don't want to lose time. So without, unconsciously, without realizing, we get into this race. And when you look back, you realize that, oh shit, this has taken a lot of toll on my health. So I actually wanted to take a break after my BSMS. So like after I graduated, I wanted to take a break for 6 months or something and then apply. I had applied in the beginning, in my fifth year, I had applied to around 5 top tier universities and in the US and I got rejections. So after that, I just thought, okay, you know what? Screw it. I'll just take a break and then I'll start exploring Europe. So it was around this time that Harshad recommended this a particular website to me. It's called Evolder. So where they post hundreds and hundreds of positions like PhD or postdocs or whatever it is in the field of evolutionary biology and genetics in general. So I was just scrolling through it randomly one day and I just found this one project that fit my interests, perfectly, because this is exactly what the project was everything that I did during my third year and fourth year internships, and I actually had a little bit of experience, so I really liked the subject. I thought, okay, I'll just give it a try, and I sent an email, and they liked my CV, and then they just said, okay, yeah, let's do an interview, and it all happened so fast. They said, okay, yeah, we like you, you can join and you can start. I'm like, I did not expect this. This was just supposed to be some sort of a practice for me, like, okay, yeah, I'll just do this and then I'll start applying for more in Europe. I did not expect to get it. In the beginning, I was actually unsure of whether or not I should accept it or not, because they said they wanted me to start in August. They already had the grant money and they said they didn't want to wait any longer and they just wanted somebody to start. So I tried to tell them that I can start sometime in November or December or some time during that time, but then they said no, but then the university admin might not like it if we tell them that yeah, the student will come, but later in the year they might say, okay, look for somebody who is ready to join much earlier. So I had to join in August. So that was not, I didn't have a lot of time. Then I was really a little conflicted about it. I didn't know if I had to take it or not. But again, this whole thing, with the race, like my parents said, take it. Why? What are you waiting for? Da, da, da. And so many people telling me, my peers telling me, oh, you got it already. Take it, take it. It was like, when you're in your fifth year, it's like you count the number of people around you who already have a PhD. It's like, oh, did you?
That's
oh,
true.
she got a PhD position already. Oh, she got a PhD. It adds so much stress and there's so much pressure, because if you're not getting a position, it's like something is wrong with you or something is wrong with your CV, and it's like you won't go anywhere, and it's really, really stressful. So I think I just gave into that pressure and I just accepted, and then I didn't get a break. So in the beginning, when I came here, it was really difficult for me, and I did not know how the system works here. Like, and I don't mind saying this. I have a history with mental health issues. So I did not really know how to deal with it because I'd be alone when I got here. But it got worse after I came here because I was alone. So there's nobody in Kassel who I know, like nobody from IISER in Kassel. So I did not have anybody to hang out with, and I had to start from the scratch, like, making a life here from the scratch. And it was really difficult for me. I was a little scared to tell my professor in the beginning that I have issues with my mental health. So this is because I was mostly used to, getting these reactions from professors back in India where they say, if you have a problem, it's really your problem and nobody can do anything about it. Like if you don't produce data, if you don't produce results, then you can't go anywhere or they might kick you out. So this fear of getting kicked out, if you have a problem, you will get kicked out. I was really scared of that. But then one day I just made up my mind and I was really honest with my professor, and I sent her an email and I told her, so I have this problem, and sometimes I will have to take breaks. I just have to, because I cannot work continuously. That's how I work. I just work a lot for a period of 2 or 3 days and then I take a break. It's like that. So I am somebody who works like that. I can't work continuously. So I just told her, I just made her know the way I work, like how I can effectively work. So she appreciated it, actually, that which was really, really good. So I'm really lucky to have a very, very good and understanding professor. And from all the other friends of mine who are doing their PhD in Europe, I think in general professors are nice and understanding and empathetic here in Europe. They understand if you have a problem and you go to them and you tell them, they actually understand. So here, when I told her that yes, I have issues with my mental health, and she was really understanding, and she said yes, you can take breaks when you want. And she explained to me, about how to apply for leave when I'm in university and everything. And she told me that universities in general are very understanding about these issues, and it's not really a problem. So yeah, in the beginning, what I thought was, okay, it is some sort of a luxury that my professor, told me that, yeah, you can take your time, but no, in general, people are like this here. And people are not scared to, I think, to tell others that, yes, I have a problem at home or something like that. And so that is the attitude here in general.
But I want to know, okay, you had been going through this phase where you were finding it hard to continue with the project or like with the research you were doing, and you took a while before you approached your guide. Not specifically in Germany, but in general, almost in every PhD's life, there are these points where they get stressful, or there are these probably because of the toxic work environment, or because the work is not progressing, or for various other reasons. So when do you think a person should actually start worrying, or like start taking an action, or like is there like a PhD litmus test where you know that, okay, I've reached this threshold and now I'm not supposed to push myself any more further, so let me just find a solution to it?
Yeah, because after a point you will know that you just can't get up from bed, you just can't do it anymore, and that I think you will know that you cannot take it anymore, and then the stress is really affecting you, affecting all aspects of your life. I would say that it's your PhD, yeah, for sure, it's very important, but I would say that you have to learn to separate it from your personal life. It's not a part of your personal life.
Sure.
It is your academic or professional life. It's different. So one good practice, even I have this practice, is that when I leave my university, when I leave my office in the university, I leave my work here. I don't care about my work at home. I don't carry a paper, to my apartment. I just don't want my academic life to interfere with my personal life. So when I think there is a point when you feel that it's affecting, that's a good practice to not mix the two. But I think at a point when you start realizing that maybe your academic life is taking up your personal life as well, and when you feel that it's affecting other aspects of your life too, that it should just be an this particular part of your life, and it's just leaking into other parts of your life, and it's creating a mess there as well, and you think, okay, I can't let this take over my life. So that's when you realize that, okay, I should start doing something. Because in India, I think this is this practice that we have, that if you're a PhD student, you spend all your time in the lab, like 24/7, and your life is defined by your PhD. This is who you are. You're always going to the lab. You either know your lab or your home, and that's it. But I think that's not a good practice, because whatever it is still just one part of your life. You should not forget that there is a completely different aspect of your life where you have your family, or you have your friends, and you have a social life. I have also heard people, professors in India, some of them saying that you should forget all about a social life, if you want a career in research. I would disagree with that, because I know a lot of researchers and professors here who have a perfectly normal personal life and social life and an academic life altogether, like separate. And I don't think there is a need to sacrifice anything. It should be kept separate. There is no need to sacrifice. And if you feel like, yeah, I have to sacrifice this particular bit of my life, for the, which gives me happiness for this, then I think that's when you should know that, okay, maybe something is wrong. that what am I doing? I'm letting this thing take over my entire life. That would be a bad sign, I would say, when it is just leaking into your other aspects of your life. But I don't know how stressful it would be when you're writing your thesis or when you're in your final years of your PhD, because I have heard a lot that the stress only increases as you go to your final years of your PhD. But yeah, but I would still say that keeping it separate is the best idea.
I think that's a very interesting point you raised, that there should be a line drawn between your personal life and your work. And often, as you mentioned, in India that doesn't happen. Often people combine it, and the percentage is almost like really bad, like 9:1, where 9 is totally towards your work, specifically when you're
Yeah.
doing a PhD, and
Yeah.
barely you give time to yourself. And that's going to have a negative impact on your work again. So it's just
Yeah.
this sort of cycle.
Yeah.
So that's really good, and that actually answered a part of my question, my next question, which was, often we have this sort of realization once we pass a certain phase, saying that, okay, I should have done that so that it would have been helpful to me right now. That happens almost all through your life, where you regret, or like where you think that you must have done something. Is there something you think you should have, or you could have done back at IISER, that could have been an advantage to you right now in Germany, with not just with work, with like living a life all alone there, or with respect to work again? And is there something you want your juniors, like me, to start doing right now, so that will be helpful for us when we travel around for work or some other thing?
I don't say I have any. I can't say that I have any regrets that, oh yeah, I did this badly, but because I guess when I look back, even if I've had bad experiences, I kind of think that, okay, yeah, because I had that experience, I kind of know a bit more about something, so it's helped me in a way. So okay, so one thing I feel really bad about is my major project.
Okay.
I don't know if this is going on the interview, but
no, I can cut this off, don't worry.
no, it's fine. Yeah, I'll just say it. So I'm not really good with I'm not really good at studying animals, like or living things. I'm really if you give me an animal, I'll probably squish it and kill it and give it back to you. So I'm like that. So I'm really good at computer and working with data analysis. This is something that I'm really comfortable with, because you can't really screw up.
Yeah.
If you screw up, you can go back and you can do it again.
Yeah, you can undo this, but you can't undo a life.
Yeah, and you can't, and you're not really wasting any resources. They said, okay, this did not work, let me run the code again, something like that. It's easy that way. So behavioral ecology, animal behavior was something that I had not tried before. I had tried in my second year internship at NCBS for a very short time, and yeah, at the time it was a very informal project. I was just playing around. So anyway, so that I thought, okay, yeah, this is something I could do. But then anyway, after the second year, I forgot all about it, and my third and fourth year internships were solely focused on data analysis. So this is what I was comfortable with. But I saw that in IISER, there was no working group that suited my interests. As it did not, my interest did not fit perfectly well into any working group at IISER. So I was not sure about what to do. So, and I had, I think, 2 courses from evolutionary biology in fourth year, which was really, really good. Like, especially, I liked the way they set their question papers, and I liked the way they let me think, the courses. So I thought, okay, yeah, why not something in evolutionary biology? So I applied to Ullasa's lab, and the thing is, I did not really have a lot of time to plan it out, because again, in my fourth year, I had undertaken this internship in the US, so I didn't really have a lot of time. So I thought, oh yeah, whatever, I'll just try this. So behavioral ecology was something that I just tried, and I kind of realized that I am really bad at it, and it Yeah, one thing I would say to people, I don't know if a professor will watch this, but
I'm sure all my professors are gonna watch this.
okay, so
But it's
people
fine. I can do.
back at IISER who want to do behavioral ecology, especially behavior with vertebrates, like big animals.
You can name. I can beep that. Like this particular professor did that to me. I'll be like beep.
I work with geckos, and it was not really a good idea to do behavioral, experimental, uh, whatever behavioral ecology with such big animals for a major project. Maybe for a long-term project like PhD or something, it's a good idea, because you have the thing with behavioral ecology is that animal behavior. The thing with animal behavior, that was the term I was looking for. Animal behavior is that the experiments take a lot of time, a very long time, a shitload of time to just standardize. Just standardizing the experiment itself takes a really, really long time. There's so many factors you need to consider. Like
And specifically with geckos, the lifespan itself takes a lot of time, right? Like for you to start one experiment and to redo it, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, the thing with animal behavior is that you also have to, take into account repeatability. So you have to the experiment again and again and again. So, but then it only, the experiment, it makes sense when all the factors are the same, and you have to ensure that all the factors are the same
Remain the
during
same,
all
yeah.
during all the replicates. Otherwise, it makes no sense, because this particular factor is a variable differed, so therefore there is a different behavior, something like that. So you have to take care of a lot of things, and many a times you don't really realize how many factors are affecting the behavior in general. So it takes a really long time, and if a lot of papers that I read, I've seen that standardizing the experiment itself takes about a year or something like that. So when you decide the temperature of the the room and things like that, and there's so many factors. They have to do so many trial and error things to realize, okay, so this is one factor that's affecting the behavior, and they have to go through hundreds and hundreds of animals and everything. So it's a huge process, and it's really difficult. And I tried something like this for a major project that's like 8 months or something, and it was a complete disaster because it did not work. Nothing worked. And I felt really bad, because one thing, I also failed at taking care of the geckos properly, because I'm not really good at handling these animals. And it was really stressful for me towards the end, because animal behavior is not well suited for a short-term project, I would say. So if somebody is looking to do animal behavior, then I would just against it. Because it takes an awfully long period of time just to standardize. And like behavior,
that's really true.
especially with I don't know how it works with bees or insects. I don't know how it works with them, but behavior with bigger animals like geckos and stuff, it is really stressful. One thing that I kind of look back and feel bad about is that I did not make the right decision to pick a good project for my master thesis. I did not really think a lot about it, and I picked something that I'm not really comfortable with. But what I was also doing was basically, experimenting and saying, okay, maybe I could try this, maybe I could, try that. So one good thing that came out of this whole experience of my major project is that I realized I am not good at this particular thing. That I am not good at, behavior, or I'm not good at handling with living organisms. Like I cannot do field work. So these are certain things that I realized that I cannot do this. But I think that if I had done a good major project, I would always have a good master thesis to look back to. Because if somebody asks me, even now, if somebody asks me, so what was your master thesis about? So it's something that people ask you when you start out your PhD. It's like, oh, so what was your master thesis about? I usually don't like to talk about it a lot, because it didn't really turn out well. So when I'm in touch with some juniors of mine in IISER, and whenever I talk to them, I always tell them that, yeah, I mean, sometimes if it's a bad project and it doesn't work out, it happens. You can't avoid it. Sure. But if there is something that you can avoid it. Like if there is something that's in your hands, then choose well. So you have like a complete year, like 4th year, at around the time you should have a basic idea of what, you like and what you don't.
Oh no. Don't have an idea.
Basic idea. Okay, not really, but just a basic idea of, maybe I can try this or something like this. Just a basic idea you will have that. Okay, or if you like a professor's work, you will have this, in your mind that, okay,
That's true.
so this is what I want to try. So you have this whole time in your 4th year where you can actually sit and decide what you want to do. So I would say choose your working group very carefully for your master thesis, for your major project, because I think it is important. Your master thesis is important. It is very important what you work on. Thankfully, I got really lucky. It did not affect my PhD applications at all. Because I was very forthcoming in all of my applications, and I told them that I am working on something that is not relevant to me anymore. That is, I will never be doing animal behavior ever again. So this is something that I will not do. What I'm interested is data analysis and bioinformatics. So I was interested in something else and not what I did it for my master thesis. And thankfully, I had a lot of very good experience from my 3rd and 4th year internships. So I got this PhD position only because of my interns. In fact, I had this interview with my current professor when I was applying, and she asked me, so what are you working on? And I told her that I'm working on animal behavior, but I was really forthcoming, and I told her that I am not really interested in animal behavior and it's not going well. So I made it clear to her that this is something that I don't want to do and it's not relevant to me anymore. And which is why I don't think she even asked a recommendation from my professor, my
thesis.
Guide. Yeah, she didn't ask. She only asked my professors from my internship time. So I didn't need a recommendation from my master thesis prof. So this is something that's very rare. This usually does not happen.
True, yeah.
Yeah, because usually you get a lot of experience in this 1 year where you work on your major project or your master thesis or whatever, and the recommendation you get from your professor is very
matters important. A lot.
Yeah, it matters a lot. So I got lucky, so it didn't matter to me. Lucky in the sense, because it was not my field. And I think me being honest with my professor, or me being honest in my applications, it really mattered.
True.
Because I'm quite positive that I wouldn't have I would have gotten a not so great recommendation, because I didn't do great work. So I'm pretty positive about that. So I got lucky in that aspect, that I didn't really need a recommendation from my prof back at IISER. But then it's not really the case in general. So it matters a lot. Your major project matters a lot, because that's the biggest work experience you have until then. So it matters. So, and I think a lot of people who have PhD positions now in Europe, like some of my friends from batch 14. So when I talk to them, a lot of them, a majority of them have landed their PhD positions because of the work they did during their major project. And in Europe, I would also like to talk about how PhDs in Europe differ from PhDs elsewhere. So PhDs in Europe are mostly structured. So structured PhD programs are for a shorter duration of time than say unstructured, like how it is in India or US. So what you do in Europe is that you apply to a specific project. So you apply to a PhD position that is offered in a particular project. So you already know what you will be working on. So that is why the PhD usually just lasts for 3 or 4 years, like maximum of 4 years. So that is how it is, because you already know what you're working on. So when you join the project, you already start working on your project. So so the professors here or working groups here, they look for people who already have experience in this particular field. Okay. Right. So if there is something, if there's a bioinformatics project, so obviously my professor would be interested in taking somebody who's already done bioinformatics, who's already done some computation, who's experienced in that field. So the biggest experience that you have until then is your master thesis. So a lot of people got whatever the experience that was required for them, that was required to in order for them to get into this particular working group. A lot of these people that I know, they got it during their master thesis, that during their major project. So I would say major project is the most important part of your IISER life. Like even if you don't have great internships, it's okay. Ensure that your major project is really good. Like, even if you don't get extremely good results, it's fine, but ensure that you do something, like get something out of it. Like, you have to get something out of it, that you just and to ensure that pick the working group well, like make the right choice. Like, it's very, very important to make the right choice. So this is something that I would stress on again and again. And I would think that this is the only thing that I still feel bad about when I look back, that, yeah, I didn't have a great major project. I had a very bad major project. But yeah, this is something that I would say to everybody. Even if internships, if you don't have, and obviously a lot of people right now, I think at IISER, they couldn't do an internship because of this whole pandemic thing. And I'm not sure if they can do an internship next year either, because we don't know where it will go. So
That's
even
true.
if you don't have a great internship, it's still okay, because if you have a great major project, it will make up for all.
That leads to my favorite question, which I often ask a lot of other interviews I have too. So, is there some important inference or message about this whole situation that you feel is going underrepresented or unacknowledged in the public discourse? Something that's not being, something that's not being talked, or something that should have had a lot of focus on, but um, things are getting. Focus is getting diverted from that.
Okay, I like this question. Anyway, if you ask me what is the most important thing, I would always say mental health, because I think it's the biggest consequence that has come out. Like, in terms of,
we can add up to that question saying, what are those things on which this pandemic shed light on? One of them is mental health, as you said.
Mental health. I don't know if people realize this, or if people are talking about this a lot, but I think people should also talk about how probably we cannot go back to living like the way we used to before the pandemic.
Very likely.
Personally, I feel that it's not possible to go back to living like, this extravagant kind of living, where you think that you can exploit whatever you want and everything is yours, and you can do, just a very a brash lifestyle without thinking. I think that took a major hit, and this, I think everybody, even when you go online, and obviously I know, like, thousands and thousands of people have typed this question: when will the pandemic end? Or when will I go back to being like how it was before? Blah blah blah. So I have also read a lot of these, or I have also typed this question. So I a lot of these articles, there's some articles would say, when can you go back to traveling like you used to? When can you go back to doing like you used to? Like, I think a lot of people are focusing on going back to the way things were. Like, when can we go back to the way things were, and when can we go back to exploiting resources like how we used to? Things like, I think a lot of people are focusing on that, like restoring normalcy. Like, that is, normalcy is something that used to be. So what, going back to living like how things were. But I think we should shift our focus to seeking out solutions, and accepting the fact that the lifestyle that used to be is not the kind of lifestyle that we should aim for again. That we should start looking at solutions to live life in a much smarter way and a better way, such that we don't harm the planet as much as we used to before. And this is something that people, I don't think, are focusing on. They just want to
That's true. That's a very interesting point you raised, and I totally agree with you, because a lot of people, including very famous people like David Attenborough or Greta Thunberg, are looking at this pandemic as a reminder to our actions, our previous actions, and asking us to reflect upon this whole situation, and like to change our actions. And it doesn't make sense when you try to find an answer on how do you get back, rather than how do you continue with the same thing and like try changing your lifestyle. And
because a lot of people that I see, like people when you're walking around, a lot of people that you interact with, they the only thing that they see in this pandemic is that it is an inconvenience. It's like that is what this pandemic is. It's an inconvenience. It is, of course, it is an inconvenience, but that is the only definition that people give to this whole pandemic, that this is an inconvenience to our life, that we cannot travel anymore, we can't do this anymore, we can't do this anymore. But people are not thinking that this is a reminder, that this is something that can happen again and again if we don't stop doing whatever we were doing all this while. We have to look for better solutions and reliable solutions and have a better way of living. So I think very few people are talking about this, and it's just become like a big problem. So the pandemic is just a problem. It's like an inconvenience. It's like a hurdle that, okay, yeah, you pass and then you go on living like how you used to. But I don't think that this is how it should go on. And I think I read an article recently. I think it was a New Yorker article, I'm not sure. This is I remember very little, but then the main the concept was that, so usually big times of stress like this, they usually mark the beginning of something very big or something great, because people look for solutions during times of distress. So this is like, for example, how the Renaissance came about after the Black Death. So the Renaissance was a result of that. So because people started, focusing on different things, and so it was like it paved way to the Renaissance. So something like that. So great times of distress should let people, in general, it allows people to think up newer solutions. That, okay, so this was not working. So this is our lifestyle is what led to this. So we have to start living in a different way. So I hope people also start thinking about that now, that, okay, so this is something that we can't continue to do. Like we can't continue doing this and, continue to exploit this planet, but we should actually look for more innovative solutions and start coming up with a lifestyle that will hopefully not damage the planet, further.
That's really interesting, and I really like the answer. So with that, we're done with the interview.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you again, and stay safe.
Very nice seeing you.